Yo, Benny! I don't think he's home, man. Benny, man, yo. Yo, what's up, everybody? I'm MC Savant from the Cankersaurs. You can catch me on funnyordie.com/Cankersaurs, K-A-N-K-S-O-R-Z, you know what I'm saying? But right now, it's all about Benny TV. Yo, because my boy Benny the Gagoots got his own show. And I just want to give a big shout out to Benny. And in honor of that, I'm going to do dope-ass freestyle, man. So he's got to figure out what rhymes with Benny. 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 What rhymes with Benny? Benny. What rhymes with Benny? Benny. He's in the Serengeti. He's hunting for a Yeti and he's always on the ready. And Benny's always merry when he's eating his spaghetti. But right now he's in the desert, so his palms are kind of sweaty. His good friend Freddie, he brought him that Ben and Jerry. And Yetis, they love the Ben and Jerry. So Benny caught that Yeti and we all threw confetti. Yeah, Benny. Benny TV, baby.
Yeah, Benny TV, baby. Welcome to an all-new episode of Benny TV. And on tonight's episode, we visit a village in England where the children control their parents. But isn't that really everywhere? A man with a little problem, or actually a big problem that is making this man little, and his wife is not very happy about it. My favorite Jamaican honey, Bomba Claudie, gives us her perspective on Hollywood. And this week, I might actually get to that Ray Bradbury video that I spoke about last week. I may actually get to it tonight, see what kind of time we have, because I have a special guest dropping by. But first, I'd like to talk about my Weekend of the Living Dead, or actually, my Weekend of the Living Deadheads. A lot of excitement for all of you. I was a Grateful Dead fan. I won't say I was a Deadhead, but during the 70s, I saw the Grateful Dead 6-7 times, saw the Jerry Garcia Band about 6 times, and I saw Bob Weir in several different bands during that about 5 or 6 times also. So saw them a lot during the 70s. And the Dead recently did a show in Citi Field, home of the New York Mets, and it was called Dead and Company. They have a new band now. They don't call themselves the Grateful Dead anymore since Jerry Garcia passed. So here's a poster of Dead and Company. And I went to the show Saturday. For a long time, I was apprehensive because Jerry Garcia passed away, and I love his guitar playing. You know, I love all kinds of music. But I really think Jerry Garcia, I've had arguments with who is the better rock and roll guitarist, Jerry Garcia or Carlos Santana. I think Garcia. So we have a picture. Jerry was just an all-out great musician. His first solo album, he played every instrument on it except for the drums, which were played by Bill Kreutzmann. So when Jerry passed away, you know, a lot of us were upset, and I thought it was over. Friends of mine were like, oh, I won't see the Grateful Dead without Jerry. You know, Jerry's gone. The party's over. The magic of the Grateful Dead is over. Well, I have to tell you, no. The magic is alive very much. Here's a picture of the new band, Dead and Company, and you'll see on the center left is Bob Weir, Mickey Hart, and Bill Kreutzmann wearing the hat. Then in the background is the bass player. I'll give you his name later. And to the right is John Mayer and Jeff. Jeff, I'll give you his name later too. I can't memorize their names. I didn't write them down. But this band is hot. This band they are the magic of, they brought the songs back. Bob Weir and the other original members, Bill and Mickey, they said the songs are still alive, and they are very much alive. Here's a picture of the show I saw. You see John Mayer jumping up and down in the air. He's off the ground there, and the band had so much fun, and it was there. The magic was there again, and I would probably see them again. It was beautiful because I went to Citi Field, and I've seen as I told you, I saw the Grateful Dead many times, and there is nothing like a Grateful Dead show. That's why they didn't sell as many albums as they did live shows. There's nothing like a live Grateful Dead show, and there's nothing better than a live Grateful Dead show in the outdoors, or listening to Grateful Dead in the outdoors live. There is nothing better than, and they played a hardcore Grateful Dead set. They played, so they didn't play Truckin', they didn't play Casey Jones, they didn't play the commercial hits. They played hardcore, great music. They're a jam band. With Jerry, they were a jam band, but Jerry had his roots in country. John Mayer, I thought, was just a teeny bopper. I don't know where his roots are, but he is. I've heard that he's played with Buddy Guy. I've heard. I didn't realize what a talented guitarist, and the entire band is talented, and they're a lot of fun. And I may go again, but as I said, it was an great outdoor experience, hippie experience, and I'm wearing the shirt I bought, which we'll show you later. I'm wearing the shirt, the Grateful Dead shirt that I got after the show. So you get those, I love New York because when the show's over, you don't have to spend $50 on a shirt. You get some kid who sell it to you for $15. But I learned something. As you get older and you don't realize your weight, I'm putting on weight, you realize that you are kind of on the heavy side when you take a shirt or a blouse and you hold it up like this, and then you put it on and it's tight like this. You know that you really should be going on a diet. So, but I love the shirt. It was great. Now, I'd like to bring up my special surprise guest. Will make his way up here. A man who I was telling you about Grateful Dead music. I'm going to bring up a man who knows absolutely nothing about the Grateful Dead, but we're going to have a lot of fun. My very good friend, come on up here. John Santo, ladies and gentlemen. My buddy John Santo.
Oh, there we are.
Come here, yeah. Hey, you could see yourself there.
Awesome.
Awesome. Welcome to Benny TV, my
Thank
friend.
you. This is exciting.
Thanks.
Benny TV.
Yeah, I have my own logo and everything.
This is big.
This is big. This is
This
a
is
show
big.
about everything. I don't know if you...
It's the opposite of Seinfeld.
Yeah, it's the opposite. It's not a show about nothing. It's a show about everything.
About everything.
And about everything, a lot of useless things.
Yep.
That don't, like classic movies, which we'll show a clip, and
Right.
you may be familiar with them. And, how you doing, buddy?
Our next show is
Our next show is
already here.
Already here, and I usually have a clip of him doing, you're watching Benny TV, but I don't have a clip of him. I have a clip of Pat. I need a clip of you, too.
Okay, cool.
Because I have people saying you're watching Benny TV. But yeah, this is a show about everything, about things that might be interesting to you that are forgotten. Like good books,
Right.
like writers. I'll show clips of writers, and movies that are forgotten that people run out to see a new movie now, like a horror movie. And I'll say, well, there was a movie done back in the 50s or 60s
Right.
that was just as good. Very
Right.
similar story. And so that's what I do. I show clips. So I'm going to
Yeah,
show
yeah.
a clip
No,
in a
I've
little
seen
bit. Yeah, we're going to show a clip of two movies. And one is The Incredible Shrinking Man. You ever see that movie?
I did, yep. And The Incredible Shrinking Woman, they remade with Lily Tomlin.
They remade that.
Rehashing the old ideas again.
Yeah.
They
but,
do that.
I had read, when we'll show the clip later, I had read that when Richard Matheson, who wrote the book was called The Shrinking Man. And
Okay.
it wasn't The Incredible Shrinking Man. It was The Shrinking Man. And when he wrote it, then he was in the process of writing a new script, a new screenplay to redo it. Because that is a movie, those movies of people that are shrunk down to size and everything,
Yeah.
they don't do those enough. Because
Yeah.
that's really a good premise.
They're amazing. Now, they just made a movie, I think, recently.
Oh, okay. They
with-
did do one. Yeah.
But it wasn't like the ones that we're talking about.
Right.
It was to reduce because the Earth was running out of room, so they had to miniaturize people.
Called Downsize.
Downsizing.
Yes.
And that was kind of like that when they're walking through the blades of grass and everything is bigger than them.
Right. And Honey, I
everything.
Shrunk the Kids was very popular.
Yes, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids was popular. But this one, like, they intentionally did it to save society. I mean, from the I didn't see
Yeah.
the movie. But
Yeah,
I'm
I
like,
didn't
that
see
would
the
change
movie either.
everything. Like, travel the planes would be this big, like, everything would be different.
Yeah.
You'd have
yeah,
to shrink the buildings and everything.
And, it's funny, I told you this about books. Kurt Vonnegut, I don't know if you're familiar with Kurt Vonnegut. he wrote a lot of great books that don't really transfer well to movies. But he wrote one called Slapstick, and Slapstick or how he always had like a second title.
Right.
Slapstick or Lonesome No More is what it was called, and in it he has the Chinese because they have overpopulated.
Right.
The Chinese shrunk themselves down to like 1-inch people.
1 inch.
And all of China was shrunk down to 1 inch.
Wow.
They shrunk themselves down 1 inch.
But
so
think of like the military
downsizing
implications of that too. You could take over the country. Like they're an inch,
But I think they did something to prevent that from happening.
Okay. They kept their nukes full size as a deterrent.
Yeah. Probably. But we're not going to talk politics here.
No, but I'm just saying, like, if you think about like all that got involved.
I heard what China did is they have like a mountain that faces near Russia, which was the Soviet Union at the time, and inside that mountain they had strategically placed missiles, nuclear weapons, that if Russia was to ever attack them, they would just.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. Because China always claimed they don't want to conquer anybody. They just want to be left alone.
They just want a deterrent.
A deterrent, and they wanted to be left alone.
Right.
But that was before they got into everyone. They learned that you have to have an economy now. I think it took them a while. Nobody wanted to be capitalist.
Right.
But you
good
have
food. They make good food. Good food.
Who, the Chinese?
The Chinese, good food. That was in the movie Funny Intruder. They were trying to get to the Philippines or whatever. So they had Tom Sizemore was in the movie. He was playing a navigator, but he wasn't a navigator. He was a pilot. But he was flying with another pilot. He goes, I don't know. He goes, I used to watch my navigator do this. I think I'm okay. If not, we'll end up in China. Good food. Good food.
That's funny.
They were flying A6s into Subic.
Yeah?
From the carrier.
Yeah, you're big into flying.
Yeah.
Do you actually fly?
I haven't. I haven't flown in a while, and I just bought a new computer with Microsoft 10.
Yeah.
Windows 10. None of my flight simulators work on 10. So I'm grounded not only from the real airplane, I can't get the flight simulators to fly. I have F-18s.
Wow,
I have
really?
747s, 737s, Cessnas. I've got Bonanza, Baron. I've got a lot of these airplanes.
And you know that I make aircraft parts,
yes.
Right?
Yep.
Yeah, so when you fly, people think of me.
Think of Benny.
I'm always flying. But, I've made for F-18 and for the F-22.
Yeah, that was just at our air show here.
Yeah.
F-22 came in, and I was disappointed the Blue Angels were supposed to have the upgraded F-18 by now. Right. They put in for them like 2 years ago. Boeing got the contract. It was a $12 million contract to convert the E-F models, which is the latest F-18, the bigger F-18, more powerful F-18, to the Blue Angels mission. So that means that the stick has to be less sensitive because they're flying so close together. Yeah. So they put extra springs in the stick. They take out all the weapon systems because you don't want that extra weight. They're not going to war with Ronkonkoma. So they take all that stuff out. They take a lot of the radars out.
For weight, yeah.
For the weight. They take all the missile support, bomb support systems out. The chair flare system, all that stuff comes out. And then they just basically fly a basic clean aircraft. So
I've never flown in one. I wouldn't want to.
I fly them in a simulator. It's they're great. It's funny because I had a friend and his wife over, and the wife landed on the carrier. I set it up for a carrier landing, and she made it. Tough landing, 4-wire. So then
4 wires. So that means
4 wires the last wire. She
grabbed the last
a little
wire.
high.
Okay.
3 wires is the best. 1 and 2 you're too low. 3 you're just right. 4 you were too high. She got it. She landed. She trapped, and her husband tried it, and he slammed into the back of the ship.
Oh wow!
So he's like, "Oh, so you couldn't do it either?" I'm like, "Yeah, but the difference is she can circle around and do it again. If she, because the first approach she missed, and then she advanced power and then went around. He's dead.
He's dead. Yeah.
She could come around, and then she did her 4-wire. So she landed. He didn't. He landed, but in pieces.
All right, and I'd like to explain what John is saying is when you land on an aircraft carrier, there is a hook that either it comes down automatically or it's always. Sometimes the hook is always
on certain
there,
planes. Yeah.
On certain planes. and there is this. It's a big steel hook, and it's steel, and it looks kind of like this.
Yeah, it's roughly two hands. It's huge. It looks small on TV, but it's about that big.
It's about this long. I'm
And that one,
saying, and there are. I made those hooks. I made I told my wife that paid for our co-op that making those hooks. There was a time there that's all I did. I made 4 different hook points. So I even made one that's just the hook part that connects.
Okay.
To, and very interesting. I made those. I made 4 different hook points on that, and then what those hooks are when we made them, they take one all painted, all complete, and they destroy it. They take it. There is a place where they test it, and they have the cable.
Yep.
And
you want to know where it's going to fail.
And they want to know where it's going to fail.
Sure.
So they take so that run that we make, they take it on that run. And I actually made them. I made the ones that we had a government inspector in this different shop I was working, and he came up to us. That was the time that President George W. Bush
when you landed
on the aircraft carrier. The government inspector said he's going to be the president's flying in on an aircraft carrier, and he's going to be using one of your hooks. He told me. He said, "You better keep your fingers crossed."
Now he wanted to fly in on an F-18. He wanted to fly in with the pilot, and then he would sit in the back.
Right.
They made him fly in on an S-3 Viking, which has a pilot, co-pilot. There was then him and a Secret Service agent, and he wanted to fly in on a 2-seater, and they wouldn't. The Secret Service wouldn't let him.
Yeah.
They said because that pilot now has full control over the president by himself.
Yeah.
And could take the president anywhere. Could hold the president hostage. You know, you think about it, he flies off somewhere, they both eject, and a foreign government is there, and they capture the president.
Right.
So that's what they were worried about. So the Secret Service was armed, and there was a pilot, co-pilot, so that if either one of them tried anything, you know, I don't know what the Secret Service agent would have done, because you got to still land the plane, but they wouldn't be able to kidnap the president. I mean, imagine that. Like, the guy's trusted with all of these weapons, you know, enough weapons to blow up half of a city, but can't be trusted flying the president.
Flying the president alone.
Right. You would think that they would have had like a couple of other F-18s, and then they could have shot that plane down if need be or something like that.
But the way he was coming in secret, nobody knew he was coming.
Right, but I guess one squadron would have to know. Yeah.
I knew. I was one of the...
Because you knew that they had the...
Because this government inspector had known, so he told me, but it wasn't something that was known yet. And by the time he told me, then it happened shortly after that. Right. So, you know.
Even as a presidential impressionist, I can't go by myself.
You can't fly alone?
No, they have to have...
So
if me and a vice presidential impressionist are on the same plane, one of us has to get off.
One of you has to get off. And you do George W., right?
Sure, absolutely.
Do him for it.
See, I flew onto the carrier, and we were in this airplane with a hook, and the plane had if it doesn't hook, you don't land, and you got to go around and land again, and that's hard work. You got to be accurate, and don't forget, this is the runway, and it's going like this. Depending on the weather, I mean, it's pitching, you know. And when I flew in the Air National Guard, the runways were concrete. So they were always there.
He never flew on an aircraft.
Same place. He never
landed on an aircraft.
I was in the Air National Guard. I think he flew 105s.
Yeah?
I think. I don't remember.
All right. Anyway, I know this conversation is interesting to you and I, but...
probably not the audience.
Not the audience. Here are two... I'm going to show a clip of 2 movies from... they're both around from the same time, around late 50s, early 60s. And here's 2 what I call forgotten classics.
Okay.
So let's roll them. 2 forgotten.
Science fiction has never imagined so strange or terrifying a story as that of the village of Midwich, England, cut off from life as we know it by some mysterious force. And later, at one and the same time, a child was born to every woman in the village. Children that grew to look like this, beautiful youngsters behind whose fiery, hypnotic eyes lurked the demon forces of another world.
They're not human. They ought to be destroyed.
Forces put to such sinister use that it became a national emergency.
We are gathered here as advisors, as scientists, as government experts.
Have we established anything about the origins of these children?
There is the possibility of the transmission of energy.
Let me get this straight. You imply that these children may be the result of impulses directed towards us from somewhere in the universe.
What we need is time to investigate.
Are you aware of life on another planet? Why are you so nervous when an aircraft flies above you?
Until recently, we haven't been able to make our control reach as far as a high aircraft.
Well, now you have, is that it?
Today, their control reaches out into space. Tomorrow, will it girdle the globe?
There's nothing you can do to stop us. Leave us alone.
Shrinking Man.
You are getting smaller. There's no medical precedent for what's happening to you. I simply know that you're getting smaller.
I want you to start thinking about us, our marriage. Some awful things might happen.
As long as you've got this wedding ring on, you've got me.
This is Orson Welles speaking. I have 45 seconds to tell you about something I think you'll remember the longest day you live. It's about a man named Scott Carey. A few months ago, he was 6 feet 2 inches tall and weighed 190 pounds. Today, he's 2 inches tall, and you can hold him in the palm of your hand. Now he lives in a world where he must fight for his life, a world where a friendly house cat is a predatory monster.
Incredible because it's almost beyond imagining. Incredible because every hour he gets smaller and smaller. Incredible because every moment the terror mounts.
Hey, how you doing? I'm Pat Marone from Laughter Saves Live Live. You're watching Benny TV.
That was awesome.
That was awesome, huh? Yeah. Those two clips of, and it makes you, like you said, you haven't seen those movies in a long time.
Yeah, a long time.
That's why I show them, because so people you might want to watch, and even myself, I'm like, yeah, you know, I haven't seen Village of the Damned in quite a while, and that's there was a remake. I don't know if you remember, in the '90s, in like '95, John Carpenter.
Oh yes, he made a movie.
He made the movie, the remake with it was Christopher Reeve's Superman. It was his last film before his accident.
Okay.
Where he broke his neck.
Yeah.
Nancy and I went to see it because I used to watch this show on Sci-Fi Channel when Sci-Fi Channel first started. There's a show on Sundays called Sci-Fi Buzz, and they told you all the science fiction things coming, you know, and they'd show you clips. So they showed they were doing that. John Carpenter was doing a remake, so you think it's a can't miss, right?
Right.
Remake, and when the kids were born, because the story that I don't know if you remember it, everybody passed out in this village. They were in this small village. Everyone passed out. And then they woke up, they didn't know what happened, and all the women in the village became pregnant. and they all had these children at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And these children are and they don't know, in the trailer it says, did it have something to do with aliens from outer space?
Right, right.
Or they don't know, but all these children were very bizarre, and they had bigger heads, and their eyes glowed.
And that's where the outer space thing came in.
Yeah, and their eyes glowed. So, John Carpenter had we saw the animatronic babies all get up in bed and everything. So we went to see the movie. They didn't use that scene. So it's one of those, where you see a scene, and even in the trailer, and that scene's not in the movie.
Yes, I hate that.
Right? So that scene wasn't in the movie. It wasn't that good. It wasn't as good as Village of the Damned.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a shame. I do like some of John Carpenter's movies. I do, some of his movies I think are very good. I liked what he did with The Thing with Kurt Russell.
Right, yeah.
I like that. A lot of people don't like. I like that movie a lot. Escape from New York is another good one.
Oh, that was great.
That's great. Yeah.
That's great. When he lands the glider on the top of the World Trade Center.
It's amazing.
Amazing.
Yeah. That was a fun, so I expected a lot, and I was disappointed. So this one still holds up with George Sanders.
Mm-hmm.
If you remember, George Sanders always seemed to play a cad in movies, like The Picture of Dorian Gray.
Mm-hmm.
You remember that? Where the picture...
Vaguely, yeah.
All right, where this young man gets a portrait done of him, and then he wishes that the portrait would get old and he would stay young and innocent.
Oh, I see.
And that's because George Sanders put that idea in his head, saying as the painting was being finished, isn't it a shame you're going to become some old, dumpy old bastard?
And the painting stays the same.
And the painting is going to stay beautiful.
That's interesting, yeah.
So what happened is the painting gets ugly, and the painting gets ugly and old because that's what's inside of Dorian Gray becomes, from the innocent person, he becomes a real horrible human being. But he still looks handsome and good. But, and the painting gets old. So George Sanders was in that. George Sanders was in Rebecca and other movies where The Ghost of Mrs. Muir.
Yep, sure.
You remember that?
Oh, yeah.
Remember when Mrs. Muir, her husband passed away? She fell in love with this man.
Yep.
And then she finds out the man was married with kids.
Yep.
And the wife says, you're not the first woman who didn't know,
Right.
And the wife kind of knew. That was George Sanders.
George Sanders, yeah.
So he played this movie, which I found kind of interesting that he played he didn't play a cad, but I loved him as an actor.
Yeah.
And a little history of this movie was supposed to be made, an American film made by MGM.
Mm-hmm.
And Ronald Colman was going to be the lead role. The United States started getting a lot of flack with this of the Virgin Immaculate Conception type of the birth. The religious Christians in America had a problem with that. These women are going to wake up and they're going to have children. They're going to be pregnant. They had a problem with that.
And this was what year that this was?
1960.
Okay, so that was
came out. Yeah, so they had a problem with it. So Ronald Colman died. They shelved it for a couple of years, and then they decided to pick it up and make it filmed in England by the MGM studios in England.
Mm-hmm.
So it was an English production.
Interesting.
And another interesting, the wigs that the kids wore, they all wore blonde wigs. They padded them to make their heads look bigger. That's why their heads look bigger.
Oh, that's how they did
They
it.
padded the wigs, and their eyes glow, as you saw their eyes glow.
Mm-hmm.
In England, they didn't have their eyes glow because I think that was too frightening or something. So the eyes don't glow on the print that was shown in England. In the English print, the eyes don't glow. They just get bigger.
They thought the British would be scared of that?
The British didn't want, so that was in the British version of the movie. The eyes don't get.
Because they thought the British would be scared of that.
They were disturbed by it or something.
Really? Wow.
But
they were getting bombed in '45. You think they're afraid of eyes glowing?
The glowing eyes. So the American version has the glowing eyes, but they don't have when the kids, they have these supernatural powers. And they set one man on fire.
Mm-hmm.
So that's in both versions. But in the English version, you see the one head kid who did that, he smiles, but they don't show the smile in the American version. So there are two versions. I learned this. I looked it up.
It's amazing how the movies differ from the different countries' versions. Like I've seen a few movies that were different, and it's like, wow, the American version they cut this, and then you see the full version, and it's holy cow.
Yeah, and sometimes there used to be a time where some movies there would be a dirty line, but when they showed the movie in the afternoon, they cut that line out.
Right. Yes.
Or you would see a naked girl like Rodney Dangerfield. Easy Money.
Easy Money.
Easy Money.
She's not worth $3 million.
Yeah.
$2 million maybe.
$2 million maybe. Yeah, right. But and in that there was two versions.
Easy Money.
In Easy Money, there was in the trailer version, you see her with a bikini top.
I see. All right, and then the other one.
And then the other version, she's topless.
She's topless, right? I wonder if they did that in the movie too. That they had two versions for the movie.
They might. I've heard people tell me about movies they saw where they.
That was a great movie, Benny.
Yeah.
Took us forever to film.
Yeah. Do you know anything about that one?
Oh, that movie! I love that movie.
Yeah,
I started
me too.
doing. That was my first celebrity impression.
Was
from
Rodney?
From that and Back to School.
Oh, really?
So I still joke around with my mother-in-law with the end of that movie when he's eating the pizza.
Yeah.
And he goes, "What'd you tell her tonight, Monty?" First, I told her perfume was driving me wild. Then I told her I married Rose to get my mother-in-law. 5 years ago, I wouldn't kiss her face. I ended up kissing her ass. And then he's eating the slice, and they freeze the frame. I love the ending of that.
Me too. That's a great movie. Joe Pesci is
Oh,
funny in that.
Pesci was great in that.
Yeah. Who am I? I'm the guy who put the toilets in this dump.
But every time, like my mother-in-law, like if I have, she angers me, or whatever, I go, "Oh, my mother-in-law." It's perfect,
That's such a fun movie. Rose, he's got the knife. He's gonna kill it.
There's
Rose.
a mess of Schmidt in the kitchen.
There's
Clean
a
it
mess
up.
of Schmidt in the kitchen. Will you clean it up? Yeah. That's classic. That's
classic movie.
Now the other forgotten classic was The Incredible Shrinking Man.
Yes, we just
and you
saw
and I, we were talking about it as it was on. You had told me that you're a big fan of Twilight Zone.
Oh, yeah.
Black and white movies. Black and white.
And I like that 80s remake movie. Yeah.
Right, and the 80s remake. The Incredible Shrinking Man is based on a book, The Shrinking Man, by Richard Matheson, who was one of the three writers of the Twilight Zone episodes. And he wrote the famous gargoyle on the plane that William Shatner sees.
Awesome. And I like the way they redid it in the movie with Lithgow. John Lithgow played the.
Yeah, they did a
But
great
that was a
version.
jet versus a propeller plane. But William Shatner was awesome.
Right.
In that, and I kept waiting for him to say, lock phases on target, but he didn't say that. Different movie.
Different movie. It was, and it was so low budget that I heard Matheson. A lot of people weren't happy with what the creature looked like in that one because it looked almost like a bear.
Right. Yeah.
It was furry. Yeah. It wasn't supposed to be a gargoyle.
But in the remake,
they did a great
job, and the thing went like this. The finger. Oh my God, that was crazy.
And that segment was directed by the director of Mad Max movies. Was it George Miller?
Yeah, I think so. Yes.
George Miller, right?
Yes.
It was directed. He did that segment.
And that little girl that was in the seat in front of him was awesome. You big silly, that can't happen on a plane or whatever. That was great.
Yeah, no, they did a great job with that. And Richard Matheson wrote a lot of. I think he even wrote the one, "I'm Talkie Tina," with Telly Savalas.
Yeah.
You better be nice to me. I have that doll. Maybe I could tell that story. I have that.
Yeah.
I have that Talkie Tina doll. I went. It was Father's Day the other Sunday, and a few years back, Ryan took me, as a surprise, to two things I love. I love aviation too. I love airplanes, and I love science fiction. They had the first Eternal Con. Now it became so big they have it in the Nassau Coliseum. They had it the first year in the Cradle of Aviation Museum. So you got to go in there, and you walked around the Cradle of Aviation Museum, and they had the wax figures of the Planet of the Apes guys as you were looking at the planes, and they had different different wax figures. They had people that you could get signings from, and so we went around. We went in there, and Then there's the area where people are selling merchandise.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw that doll. And it's the black and white, black and white doll. And it was like this big, and the guy had it up on the shelf. And it was Talkie Tina in the box, says a bunch of phrases. I'm Talkie Tina, I'm going to kill you.
Oh, that's creepy.
Right? So, yeah.
Let me tell you something, dolls can be creepy.
Right, so.
Very creepy.
So I saw that doll, and I'm talking to the guy, and he wanted like $90 for it or something. It was
Let go of my arm.
Yeah. So I was like, no way. So Ryan and I went around. We had a good time. That's where I show the picture once in a while. I've had it on this show. Me and Catherine Mary Stewart. That's where I met.
Oh, yeah.
I met Catherine Mary Stewart from
Night of the Comet.
Night of the Comet. Weekend at Bernie's. Bunch of fun movies. Wonderful, wonderful lady, too. I had so much fun. First, I paid to have a picture taken. Then later, I had my Benny Rizzuti fan club pin. And I went back later and gave it to her. And then she had Ryan. We took all the pictures, and she has a picture pointing to the pin.
Oh, that's awesome.
She was someone, and I've written to her. I write to her, and I'm friends with the person that handles a Facebook page, too. He's a wonderful man. Tom Ryan.
And Battle Beyond the Stars, she was in that too.
Yeah, she was in Battle Beyond the
Stars.
Stars.
That was a good movie.
I'm not a fan of it because
really?
of the special effects.
Well,
I
it
like
wasn't
her in it. The special effects are
not the greatest.
I guess the budget was
for them. They weren't. Yeah, but I hear you.
So we went. Ryan and I. We saw all the stuff we were going to see, and we looked at the aircraft too. And there was one of those arresting hooks we were talking about.
Yeah.
They have a Grumman one right there, painted up and everything.
Sure.
So we went. I took pictures. We had a great time. Now Ryan's like, "You want to leave?" I said, "Yeah, I want to leave, but I want to do something first." And Ryan knew exactly what was on my mind. And I went over to that guy with the doll, and I slammed my hand on the counter, and I said, $65 cash right now. And all right, you can have it.
Nice.
So I have it. I have it at home, wrapped in it and wrapped up and put in, never taken out of the box. So, and it's in its own private Tupperware.
Nice.
It has its own private Tupperware.
You got to preserve these things properly.
Right.
My wife yells at me for putting my baseballs and footballs that I want to keep, like a Super Bowl 46 New York Giants football. She's like, "Why is it in a plastic case?" Hello.
I'm glad you said that. I have one. I have one signed. Not I forget who signed it, but I got it at I went to a fundraiser, and I got it at the fundraiser.
Oh, sweet. Hey, you got to put that in a protective
so
thing.
I didn't put that one, but we have a lot of baseballs too.
I put them in UV protective cubes.
They're in the UV protective, all the baseballs we had.
I'll tell you a funny story about the Cradle of Aviation that ties into movies.
Okay.
They have that Spirit of St. Louis, not the plane, but just like there's like a mock-up of the cockpit so that you can get an idea of the size of the confinement that he was in for the 29 or 31 hours to Paris.
Yes.
So you sit in it, and it has a picture of the instrument panel, just to give you an idea. It's not an actual cockpit.
Right.
But it's the same size.
So you know what he went through.
Exactly. So I sit inside, and I had just seen the Spirit of St. Louis with Jimmy Stewart.
With Jimmy Stewart, yeah.
So I'm like, let's see, which way to Ireland? Which way to Ireland? I'm yelling out the window, which way to Ireland? People got a little mad. Anyway, but I had fun, screw that.
And they do have the actual Spirit of St. Louis.
They have another right. I think it was the other airplane. They built two. The other one is in D.C., the one he flew. But there was another Ryan aircraft.
What they did for the Cradle of Aviation is they got retired machinists who volunteered and retired people from Grumman and stuff. And they took the plans and they built their own.
Oh, they built their own for the museum.
For the museum. So some of those aircraft are from the actual schematics and prints.
Of the original Ryan aircraft design.
So they are the actual size. They are the actual components. They built them for that. So it took a few years to build those.
In 2002, I went. I was with Aviation Week at the time, and they asked me to go to the Eric Lindbergh dinner. So I had covered the Eric Lindbergh flight. Eric Lindbergh is a grandson of Charles Lindbergh. For the 75th anniversary, he recreated the grandfather's flight in a Cirrus airplane. basically filled it with fuel. The seat was taken out for the co-pilot seat, just a fuel tank there, and all the survival gear that he needed to survive the North Atlantic. And there was like a Coast Guard ship like halfway, just in case. But that was a big undertaking. Well, not a Coast Guard, private ship to rescue him.
Right.
Big undertaking. So I covered that for Aviation Week, basically because all their editors are based in Washington, and I was going anyway on my own time, so they let me cover it for the magazine. And then I went to the dinner. Eric Lindbergh was there.
Nice.
Reeve Lindbergh was there. The daughter of Charles, I think, is Reeve Lindbergh.
I don't know.
And then
They
so a
never
few other
invite me.
Lindberghs were there.
Yeah.
And then the grandson of Ryan Aircraft was there. He built the plane.
Right.
In California.
Cool.
And you know what the spec? You're an aircraft boss, right? You know what the specs look like, right?
Yeah.
The specs for the Spirit of St. Louis was, and I remember Jimmy Stewart saying, "I need an airplane that can fly unrefueled to Paris." That was it. He hand wrote it and sent it to them by telegram or whatever.
Yeah, but then they had to design.
Right, but that was the spec. You know,
Yeah.
I need an aircraft that can go New York to Paris unrefueled. You know, that was it. It was
Well, that was Howard Hughes. They made fun of Howard Hughes, right?
Genius.
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 But he was too big. His idea was supply ships were getting bombed, so a lot of supplies weren't making it.
Well, they were
to
getting
Europe.
torpedoed by
Being
the
torpedoed.
U-boats.
So they weren't making it to Europe. So he had an idea of putting wings on a supply boat, is what he actually did. And it was too damn big. But he called it the Hercules. They were calling it the Spruce Goose.
Because he had to make it out of wood because Lockheed and Northrop were getting all the metal.
Right. He couldn't get the aluminum or his.
But it was brilliant. He was just above the water.
Yeah.
And he was using the ground effect to give the additional lift. I don't think it flew that high.
No, he
I think
didn't
it was
fly that
low
high.
altitude,
It was
but it
low
was
altitude.
above the water, so the U-boats they couldn't touch. It was brilliant.
It was to prove. He wanted to prove to everybody that he did it because then the government was saying that he ripped off money, and he was like, he put his own money into it.
Right.
It was a brilliant idea, which they do have supply airplanes now, cargo planes.
Yes, they do.
Because of that idea, but they aren't as big. He built a.
So
he
they
put
could get
wings-
tanks and everything.
Yeah, he put wings on a ship.
That's what he did.
That's what he did. He put wings on a
Yep.
ship.
And it worked, and he flew it.
And it worked, and he flew it.
And he flew it himself.
Yes.
He was the movie with Leonardo DiCaprio about him was. I got to give DiCaprio credit. He did a great job as Howard Hughes.
I agree with you. He did a really good job.
And they kept calling it and he was so much more brilliant than his critics. But that's what critics do. The critics that have accomplished nothing are the ones that attack the greatness. And Howard Hughes was a great.
He was.
He was an absolute great. He was a genius. And he fixed that. Unfortunately, it didn't do well commercially because the war ended. So had the war not ended, that aircraft would have been instrumental in getting supplies to the European theater or the Pacific theater.
What happened was other people looked at it and said, make it half the size.
Right.
And made it easier to make it half.
And then, well, yeah, because then you...
Because the cargo planes are not that big.
Yeah, they're designed to get things to theater rapidly, too. That was just to replace all the losses from the boats.
Right.
So it was the same thing. It might have taken a long time to make the... Although I think it would have been faster than boats, but not as fast as other airplanes.
And we didn't.
So it was like a
wasn't
trade-off.
Loaded, you know. It wasn't. It didn't have the weight. That was going to have a lot of weight.
Oh,
on
the
that.
one that he tested.
The one that he tested.
No, it wouldn't have had the weight. Yeah.
But it was like you said, it worked.
It worked.
It was a great idea. It worked, and I believe that was the starting point because now we have helicopters. We have the Chinook.
Yep.
That you could drive a Jeep onto.
Sure.
You know, you could bring a Jeep and troops in the Chinook.
Yep.
And the Chinook can be used for rescue too.
Yep.
Which is good. Now, I have a Jamaican friend. I don't know if you know my Jamaican honey, Bomba Claudie.
Didn't I meet her once when she was here?
She did the Benny Rizzuti show. But
when on the couch set? I think I was here
No,
one.
that wasn't Bomba
That
Claudie.
wasn't... Okay, different
No,
person.
that was...
I know who you mean now.
Yeah, that was Saida Thompson.
Saida Thompson. right.
Wonderful Saida. Anyway, my friend Bomba Claudie is going to give us her views on Hollywood and a movie review. So we'll roll that in a second.
When your friends are not around and you're feeling depressed and down, I will help you eyes this Bomba Claudie. My name's this Bomba Claudie. I will keep your hopes afloat and I make you some curry goat. I will rub your eyes with Bumba Clatty. My name is Bumba Clatty. Bumba 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 Clatty. You know, there's this actress. Her name is Zoe Sol. I can't pronounce her name. But you know what? This young lady confuses me because in every movie, she's a different color. In one movie, she green. The next movie, she blue. And then there was this one movie where she was really, really black. I mean, super duper black, like Whoopi Goldberg black, 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 black. That's why I like Sandra Bullock. She's the same color in every movie. So Zoe, you need to decide if you're going to be an actress or a box of crayons.
Trespass on a witness, all of your clean on your pillar. You better watch your back before she turn into a killer. Just review the situation that you call the winner. To be a true player, you have to know how to play. If you say a night can be...
Okay, this is a movie about how 3 magical women help this young light-skinned black girl find her missing white father. The first problem with this movie is the pace. The pace of this movie during the first half of the film moves so fast that you can't really connect to any of the characters or the story. The second problem is the CGI is very distracting. It looks like a big special effect CGI machine vomited all over the Bumba Clot movie screen. Not even Oprah Winfrey wearing a giant ass Beyonce wig on her head could save this movie. I give this movie a rating of 1 blood clot.
And that was my Jamaican honey, Bumba Claudia.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, Bomba's great. You can find her on YouTube. Go on YouTube, subscribe to Bumba Claudia. She does segments. She also has her own show where she talks to women. Very funny. It's hilarious. I've shown Bumba Claudia from time to time. I actually, Bumba has given me access to all of her videos.
Oh, wow.
That I
you
can
can
use
put any of them up
any of her videos up anytime.
That's awesome.
And that is awesome. And she's a lot of fun. If you ever get to see her live, I know she's busy, but sometimes she performs. Has a great stand-up act.
Stand-up act, too.
Yes.
Awesome.
Yeah, very awesome. So, we want to talk about movies a little bit. Let's wrap up with movies.
Sure.
And Batman.
Batman.
We love Batman.
We love Batman.
They're coming out with a new Batman now.
Another reboot.
Another reboot. And it's not going to be Ben Affleck. It's going to be a young guy. But then I heard, and you'll be interested with this, Martin Scorsese is going to produce a Joker movie. Scorsese is producing a Joker movie. Joaquin Phoenix is set to play the Joker.
Okay.
They said it's not going to be associated to any of the DC Universe movies that are out there.
Really?
But Joaquin is going to play. Yeah, they said it's going to be more of gangster style. So it's going to be the Joker as a gangster.
Like the Grissom crime thing.
And Robert De Niro is going to be in it. Yeah.
Guy dresses like a bat.
Yeah.
Dresses like a bat. He's a Batman.
Yeah.
I get it. He's a bat.
Now, who's your favorite Joker so far?
I like the Jack Nicholson Joker for what it was at that particular movie.
Yes.
But I also like the Heath Ledger Joker because it was like, it was the way it was supposed to be for that type of Batman movie. So I know it's not a very good answer, but I liked each one in that respective type of movie because they were two different kinds of movies.
There were two different, and there were two different Jokers. The first Batman movie was really, you have to think that not everybody reads the comics.
But it was
so
more like
it
was more like the comic book. Less
it was more like a
Adam
comic
West.
book. It was more like a comic book, but also you had Adam West. So a lot of people were going to that first Batman thinking there was going to be power.
Right.
You know,
but it was more like the comic.
So it made it more like the comic. It made but
the Dark Knight was really more, I think, like the darker version of the comic.
Yes, it was.
So it was more extreme away from the Adam West.
Right.
So
yeah.
if there was like a scale, it would be like campy, that one, and then the Dark
Well, the
Knight.
people who wrote, because, different people have written Batman. So Batman got darker. Even though Batman was kind of dark in the comics,
Right.
he got darker because people were saying, here's a man dresses up like a bat, and all of his villains are off the wall, too.
Right.
And it was established with the Heath Ledger one of don't kill Batman. Don't, because when he tells him, can you do Heath Ledger Joker? When he says, you complete me.
You complete me.
Right?
It's like devious, yeah.
Yeah, and that became established in the comics, like in the 90s and 80s, that anyone who tried to kill Batman, the Joker would go after them.
Right.
Say, because if Batman were to die, Joker wouldn't have any reason to exist anymore.
I like that Russian guy in The Dark Knight when he goes, we hired a clown. He was right. Have to fix real problem. Batman. When he was like, because they moved the money around and I love those. Those were great movies.
Nolan did a great job with The Dark Knight, and then
great job.
And he did a great job back to Aviation. He did a great job with Dunkirk.
Yes, I saw Dunkirk. Great movie.
You saw it. I saw
great
it
movie.
In the theater.
I just saw it last week on HBO, and I had my sound thing cranked up. The wife kept banging on the floor above. But
Dunkirk is a great movie for what it is. It's one because some people are like it's not your typical war movie. No, it's one battle that really happened.
But those Spitfire scenes look.
They were amazing.
They were pretty realistic. I mean, I always look for phenomenal job.
Yeah.
Phenomenal job. But I love in the Dark Knight, I wanted to talk to you about Bane. Because I love the way Bane, like my wife said to me one time, and I responded as Bane. She goes, are you just going to sit around and watch sports all day? And I'm like, of course. Things are going according to plan. She got so pissed. First of all, she didn't even know what the hell I was doing.
Now tell me, because you're an impressionist, doesn't Tom Hardy's voice as Bane, didn't it sound like Sean Connery?
I could see where the sprinkles of it in there. I did it. I don't know if you saw the bunny that was on my lawn. I filmed the bunny. My wife and I saved the bunny that was in a batting cage net, and then the next day another bunny was on my lawn. And I saw a bunny like a week before. Then 2 weeks in a row when I was cutting the grass, I saw the bunny. So I filmed it. And I started doing the Australian, like, look at this little guy, And my friend said, you got a little Michael Caine in there. So it does happen.
Yeah.
As an impression as I could say, it does happen. But the Batman, I will not bury another Batman. I love when he started to cry almost, and to Bruce Wayne, I will not bury another member of the Wayne family.
Oh yeah,
Michael
yeah,
Caine
he's
was
great.
awesome.
Michael Caine was awesome, and the way and he ended it. What was great was Christopher Nolan gave it an ending.
At the end, when he's in Italy and he sees him at the table.
He sees him on the Riviera there, and he ends it, and then the other guy, who was the police officer, was given the Batcave pretty much.
Right.
And Christopher Nolan.
And what was his real name?
His name was Robin.
Frickin' brilliant.
And Christopher Nolan being so cool about the comics, it didn't have to be that he was going to be Robin. He could have been Nightwing, a comic book, because Robin grew up. Dick Grayson grew up and became Robin. He became Nightwing. So they could have done Nightwing. They could have went.
And they had Morgan Freeman in that series too, which was a powerhouse cast.
John, I had so much fun with you.
Terrific show.
We have to go. Thank you so much.
We have to go already?
We have to go already. It's time.
Thank you for having me.
Don't go away. John will be back with.
I'll be back.
And
Arnold, Laughter Saves Lives
Tell
live.
us the name of the show, Arnold.
Laughter Saves Lives live, and it's on at 8 o'clock on the same network, so don't touch the dial.
Thank you all for watching.
Thanks for watching.
I hope you had as much fun as we did. John,
I had a blast.
Anytime, buddy. You're always welcome.
Thank you very much.
Good night, everyone. See you next Tuesday, as my friend Jeannie Powers would say. See you next Tuesday. I didn't know what that meant.